The camp of presidential frontrunner Bongbong Marcos was asked about the sighting of the possible missing Picasso painting in former First Lady Imelda Marcos's house. But Marcos's spokesperson diverted the issue instead. Our Rex Dramito joins us live from the Marcos campaign headquarters in Mandaluyong. Rex, tell us more about this.
Well, Marcos' spokesperson, Attorney Vic Rodriguez, challenges former Commission on Elections Chair Andy Bautista regarding his allegation that a missing Picasso painting was spotted at the house of former First Lady Imelda Marcos. The former chairman of the Presidential Commission on Good Government earlier alerted new leaders to act before it's too late.
I invite you, Chairman Andy Bautista, to come home. If you're confident enough, make your allegations here in person, and so that, to be fair to the Filipino people, we can also hold you accountable for the many misdeeds and allegations as to the conduct of the 2016 elections.
The Picasso piece is among the 8 paintings that the Sandigan Bayan ordered to be seized from the Marcos family in 2014. It's unclear if the painting in the living room of Imelda Marcos is the original or a replica. Imelda talked about the art in the documentary Kingmaker. In the documentary released in 2019, Bautista said it was already removed when authorities tried to look for it at Imelda's home in Makati City. In the meantime, Abalos has already accepted Marcos's nomination as Interior Secretary. Rodriguez announced the nomination in a media briefing this afternoon. Marcos and Abalos are said to be close friends. Small wonder the Marcos campaign headquarters is in Mandaluyong City, the Abalos clan's bailiwick. Meanwhile, members of the transition team have been identified. They are Rodriguez, Abalos, South Cotabato Governor Jun Tamayo, former Representatives Anton Lagdameo of Davao del Norte, and Naida Angping of Manila. Rodriguez says more names will be announced in the coming days. He adds the viral photo showing possible cabinet members of Marcos is not true.
Apart from being competent and qualified, most of course is what yung sinasabi ko kahapon pa, yung may pagmamahal sa bansa, yung kinikilala, yung watawat ng Republika ng Pilipinas, yung rumirespeto sa saligang batas at hindi kailanman nananawagan at mananawagan ng pagpapabagsak ng gobyerno.
Talking about another subject, Rodriguez gives an idea on how Marcos will respond to the family estate tax liability when he becomes president. His chief of staff says Marcos will follow the law and the Constitution. Marcos's rivals founded on the non-settlement of estate taxes that have supposedly ballooned to over 203 billion pesos. The Supreme Court ruled in 1999 that the Marcos family must pay at least 23 billion pesos in estate taxes. Back to you, Mai.
All right, Rex Dramito reporting there from the Marcos campaign headquarters. 4 days after the election, supporters of Vice President Leni Robredo and Senator Francis Pangilinan will again gather for a Thanksgiving party. Our senior correspondent, Anjo Alimario, is at the Ateneo de Manila University. Anjo, what can we expect tonight?
You know what, Maya, it was a sweeter, had it been a victory party, but hundreds of supporters of Vice President Leni Robredo and Senator Kiko Pangilinan filled the Bellarmine Field of the Ateneo de Manila University for a night of Thanksgiving. Tayo ang liwanag, isang pasasalamat. This may be the last time that the so-called campaigns are getting together post-election. They say they're here to relive the peace movement, the great run they had campaigning for the Leni-Kiko tandem. A mass was just held earlier, and the program is just about to start here. There will be performances, though we don't have the list yet of the artists and bands who will be performing tonight. And like in past rallies, supporters brave the hot weather to show their love for the tandem. And just right now, Maya, we're seeing Robredo arriving here at the Ateneo de Manila University. Of course, it's expected that she will be addressing the crowd here later. The event was supposed to be held at the Quezon Memorial Circle, but the local government denied a permit, saying the presence of enormous crowd on a weekday would cause massive traffic, countless stranded commuters, and a significant risk to overall health. Now, before heading to the Salamat, Robredo made time to visit Nanay Gloria Beltran's wake in Tarlac. Beltran was a supporter of Robredo, whom she met at the Tarlac rally. And in her recent messages, Robredo has been appealing to her supporters to accept the final election result. Mike?
Okay, Anjo, we're seeing lots of supporters there again. Anjo Alimario there reporting. The canvassing of votes for the Senate and party list enters its final stretch. Melissa Lopez brings us the details from Pasay City. Mel, how soon can we see winning candidates proclaimed?
The COMELEC sitting as a National Board of Canvassers is at the 80% mark, adding 17 more areas which submitted their voting results as of this afternoon. That accounts for 138 out of a total 173 certificates of canvass. Now, our partial and official tally is still, as of May 12, covering 50.8 million voters. It continues to match the partial and unofficial count reflected in the media transparency server, which already stopped operations at 3 p.m. today, with 98.35 of election returns already in. Actor Robin Padilla leads the COMELEC's partial official tally with 23.9 million votes, followed by Congresswoman Lauren Legarda and broadcaster Rafi Tulfo with over 21 million each. Rounding up the Magic 12 are Win Gatchalian, Cheese Escudero, Alan Cayetano, Mark Villar, Mig Zubiri, Joel Villanueva, JV Ejercito, Risa Ontiveros, and Jinggoy Estrada. Results at the national canvassing for party list also mirror the unofficial count, led by ACT-CIS with a wide margin. It is followed by Ako Bicol, One Rider, 4 Peace, Ang Provinciano, Sagip, and Sibac. However, it will take a while for the COMELEC to finish canvassing about 40 more certificates of canvass, as some are not yet in. Over 20 of these are coming from abroad. For one, thousands of voters from Filipinos based in mainland China and special administrative regions have not come in, as there's still no voting in Shanghai due to a prolonged COVID-19 lockdown. Other manually prepared reports have also not come in from areas unable to send the data electronically. Still, COMELEC expects proclamation to proceed by Sunday or Monday.
Maganda naman po yung projections that the remaining manually prepared COCs will come within also our timelines.
Now, what to expect during the proclamation? All 12 senators-elect will take the stage here at PICC. They can bring at most 3 guests with them. The iconic hand-raising gesture will have to be modified in keeping with minimum health protocols. And after a few days, party list groups will be declared as well once the computation on the seat allocations is finalized. 2 representatives may join the ceremony. Mai, back to you.
Mel, is there an update on the request for more honoraria for teachers who spent longer hours on voting day?
Now, that's still up for discussion. It's being finalized, although Commissioner George Crisilla already recommended that to the Commission and Bank. He says the teachers have to at least be compensated for the additional trouble and the time taken away for rest and for their family. He says the commissioners have agreed, but they cannot grant that yet because it still needs to be approved by the Budget Department and the Commission on Audit. So far, they say that the 915 precincts which had defective vote counting machines, those teachers working there, who worked there last Monday, will be covered if ever it is approved. Mine.
Thank you, Melissa Lopez, reporting live from Pasay. A number of groups mount several Black Friday rallies across the country to oppose election results that were supposedly rigged in favor of presidential frontrunner Bongbong Marcos. One of these protests was at the Harbor Square in Pasay City this morning. Protesters were supposed to march to the NBOC at PICC, but police officers immediately blocked their way. The convener of poll watchdog Contra Daya was among the demonstrators. He says Contra Daya recorded more than 8,000 incidents, which include vote buying, malfunctioning vote counting machines, and red tagging, among others.
Tinututulan natin yung denialism na ginagawa ng Marcos camp, pati na rin yung red tagging na ginagawa laban sa mga progresibong kandidato at party list group.
But another poll watchdog, the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting, or PPCRV, maintains there are no election irregularities. On Thursday, the PPCRV said the match rate between physical and electronic returns is at 100%. Up next on Newsnight, health authorities talk about cases of another Omicron subvariant and a possible spike in cases this year. And how is the Philippines' medal tally in the Southeast Asian Games so far? We bring you the updates after this break. Welcome back to Newsnight. The Health Department again reminding the public to keep their guard up as another transmissible Omicron subvariant enters the country. Officials also project a possible spike in infections by mid-year. Carolyn Bonkin reports.
A number of hospitals reporting fewer COVID-19 admissions. At the national level, daily cases are at 146. Over 100 daily infections fewer even before the Omicron spread in December. But just as numbers are improving, the health department projects a possible peak in infections by mid-year because of low booster uptake, waning immunity, and more transmissible variants.
Nakakakita tayo ng pagbagal ng pagturok ng ating mga booster doses. Assuming na ganito pa rin ang rate ng pagbibigay natin ng booster at may dumating na bagong variant na mas transmissible, inaasahan natin ang peak ng kaso at ng mga ospital at ICU admission sa darating na Hulyo 2022.
COVID-19 weekly cases could spike to over 7,700 by July 27th. With the presence of an immune-escaping variant. It's the kind of coronavirus that could escape antibodies from vaccines and previous infection. And if it is also more transmissible, the projection climbs to 14,600 cases weekly by June 23rd. Hospital admissions could also be higher than the Omicron wave early this year. This is even if 500,000 people get boosted monthly.
Ang ating bakuna, ang main purpose would be for us to be protected against severe and critical infections and even deaths. So kaya napaka-importante sa projections na to kasi pinakita niya kung gaano tataas ang severe and critical cases sa ating bansa kung sakasakali, no, na bumababa na nga ang immunity natin at saka may pumasok nga na variant of concern which is more transmissible and it escapes immunity.
Recent check on some COVID-19 samples found another Omicron subvariant, the first BA.2.12.1 cases in the country. 2 in Metro Manila, both recovered in April.
Kung hindi bakunado ang mga individual na nagpositibo, baka malala na ang kanilang naging sitwasyon. Nawawala po ang bisa ng bakuna matapos ang ilang buwan, kaya napaka-importante ng booster shot upang mapanatili ang proteksyon laban sa COVID-19.
All 39 close contacts did not show symptoms. 11 foreigners and a local crew in Puerto Princesa City in April also reportedly got the subvariant. All 28 of their close contacts are negative for COVID-19. They all recovered in April. BA.2.12.1 cases are among causes of spike in New York. It spreads faster than the highly transmissible BA.2. And initial studies abroad show it's likely better at immune evasion, escaping antibodies that could protect us from the virus, but is not yet likely to cause severe disease. Caroline Bongkin, CNN Philippines.
Detained Senator Leila de Lima hopes to score a win in her pending drug cases after failing in her re-election bid. De Lima's former driver and bodyguard, Ronnie Dayan, maintains he did not transact with convicted drug lords for the senator. Amor Santos with the details.
Ronnie Dayan, Senator Leila de Lima's former bodyguard and co-accused in one of her 2 remaining drug cases, tells the court he never received any drug money for the former Justice Secretary who has been detained for more than 5 years. It was Dayan's first time to testify for his defense at the Muntinlupa Regional Trial Court Branch 204 Friday morning. De Lima attended the hearing, her first public appearance after her failed re-election bid.
Salamat po sa suporta, salamat sa dasal. Magdasal tayo lagi para sa ating bayan.
Dayan denies receiving millions of pesos from then Corrections Bureau officer in charge Rafael Ragos. His defense, he was home in Pangasinan when the handover was supposed to have taken place at De Lima's residence in Parañaque. Dayan says then House Justice Committee Chairman Ray Umali forced him to pin De Lima down, and that he agreed to do so under duress.
May mga statements na parang upon the dictate of Congressman Umali, according to Ronnie Dayan. Ang sabi niya sa akin is that he was not assisted by a counsel of his own choice, by a competent counsel.
Wala kaming paraan para mag-corroborate because nga with the death of Ray Umali. But this is all consistent with the testimony of Kerwin Espinosa, Rafael Ragos, and now Ronnie Dayan na different members of the government are doing their part to coerce the witnesses against Senator Leila de Lima.
Dayan also denies transacting with convicted drug lords on De Lima's behalf. After Kerwin Espinosa, Rafael Ragos, and Ronnie Dayan withdrew their testimonies that implicated De Lima, the senator's camp is hopeful the court will finally dismiss her cases or at the very least allow her to post bail. Amor Santos, CNN Philippines.
Yet another attempt to red tag Bongbong Marcos's arch rival, Vice President Leni Robredo. The National Anti-Communist Task Force wants Robredo to concede to Marcos to supposedly prevent her supporters from joining protests allegedly led by communists. And as George Cahilas tells us, another agency claims a local publisher wants to radicalize children with its books on martial law.
In a Facebook post, National Intelligence Chief Alex Monteagudo made a sweeping statement that the Communist Party of the Philippines has been using 2 books published by Adarna Publishing House to radicalize children.
Ang problema sa mga libro na inilabas, these are biased presentation of the history, sabi. Talking about martial law. Tama ba na ituturo mo sa 5-year-old, 4-year-old, 6-year-old kid yung bagay na ito na political ang issue?
In a statement, Ogie Rivera, author of the book Si Junjun noong bago ideklara ang batas militar, denounces Monteagudo's claim as he is not in any way connected with the CPP-NPA. Rivera adds his work was published by the United Nations Children's Fund or UNICEF and Adarna Publishing House to introduce to the youth some important lessons in our history. Monteagudo criticized another book entitled Ito ang Diktatura, a translation of the Spanish children's book Así es la Dictadura, which describes the characteristics of dictatorship. Identified dictators in the book include Adolf Hitler of Germany, Mao Zedong of China, Joseph Stalin of Russia, Kim Jong-il of North Korea, Fidel Castro of Cuba, and Ferdinand Marcos Sr. of the Philippines. CNN Philippines is trying to reach Adarna Publishing for comment. Meanwhile, the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict or NTF-ELCAC accuses the CPP-NPA of possibly sowing chaos in the coming days by agitating supporters of Vice President Leni Robredo to join protests against election results and the Marcos family. The late dictator's son, Bongbong Marcos, is poised to become the next president of the Philippines. NTF-ELCAC is urging Robredo to concede to Marcos to calm her supporters.
Nililinlang na naman ang mga anak natin, no, na hinihimok at ginagalit against government at tinuturuan na itong mga bagong mga followers ni Leni Robredo na dahil nakipagsabwatan ay binuksan ang pintuan dito sa mga CPP, NPA, NDF.
The Communist Party of the Philippines in a statement denies the allegation, saying that the action of NTF-ELCAC is a pretext to a crackdown on mass actions and exercise of people's democratic rights. It adds the NTF-ELCAC is very eager to be of service to Marcos Jr. CNN Philippines is trying to get a statement from Vice President Robredo's camp. George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
Updates in sports straight ahead. Filipino athletes clinch more medals at the Southeast Asian Games today. And it's Eagles versus Maroons tonight at the highly anticipated decision match for the UAAP Men's Basketball Championship. You're watching CNN Philippines. This is Newsnight on CNN Philippines. NBA news now. The Miami Heat secures first ticket to the Eastern Conference Finals. The team beat the Philadelphia 76ers in Game 6 of the semis today, 99-90. Set to face Miami are either the Milwaukee Bucks or the Boston Celtics. The Bucks are one victory away from winning the series. Heading to Vietnam, the Philippine rowing team bags one medal after another in the Southeast Asian Games. The country bagged bronze in the categories lightweight men and women's quadruple sculls and men's lightweight coxless 4. That's a medal finish for 3 out of 4 rowing events today. And Jones Inso earned silver in wushu under the men's Taijiquan event. Team Philippines' first gold medal this year was from Pencaksilat athlete Mary Francine Padios. The proud mother, Dawn Padios, tells fellow parents with children pursuing sports to be always supportive.
Ang success ng isang bata pagdating sa sa sports ay nakasalalay din sa support ng parents.
Team Philippines already has 19 medals under its belt. 2 golds, 6 silvers, and 11 bronzes just a day after the SEA Games formally opened. Curash's Jackie Lou Escarpe bagged the Philippines' second gold medal earlier. And it's a big night for college hoop fans. UP and Ateneo are giving it their all for the much-awaited UAAP Finals Game 3. The first quarter of the do-or-die match is ongoing at the Mall of Asia Arena, with UP leading 17-11. UP is on a mission to end its 36-year championship drought, while Ateneo goes for a 4-peat title. Find out which squad takes season 84 by going to our social media pages for updates. And that's it for now. Join me again on news.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Mai Rodriguez for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Not all skin is created equal. Moles and birthmarks appear early in our lives due to various factors. And as we grow old, we can also get warts on our skin. On this episode, we distinguish these different formations on our skin and determine how they should concern us. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. Our guests are here today to give insight on birthmarks, moles, and warts. With us is Dr. Claudine Ray Lagman Javier. She's a dermatologist from Derma 360 and the Makati Medical Center. Also with us is Dr. Maria Cristina Puyat, who's a dermatologist and preventive regenerative medicine specialist at the Rizal Medical Center. Let's talk about birthmarks, or what we call here in the Philippines, nabalat. Now, this refers to discolored skin that is either on a flat or raised areas and are often seen at birth or form shortly after birth. Now, we'll start the discussion with Dr. Claude. Are birthmarks caused by anything mothers did or didn't do when they were pregnant?
It is not caused by that, definitely, although the cause of birthmarks is still really unknown until now.
Some birthmarks are sort of referred to as stains on the surface of the skin, while others extend into the tissues under the skin or grow above that surface. Dr. Claude, what are some of the causes then for an infant to have birthmarks?
So something along the time that the baby was in the womb, something was going on. And there are 2 types, the vascular and the pigmented. So yung vascular natin, they say it's the abnormal overproduction of blood vessels. Yung pigmented naman, abnormal clustering of nevus cells or pigmented cells in a certain area of the skin.
Dr. Cree, what are mostly the treatment procedures for birthmarks that are prominently displayed in the face?
Birthmarks can be small, and when it's small, you don't really have interventional treatment for them. Basically, you just wait it out. It usually resolves in about 5 to 10 years. However, when it starts to get bigger, and it depends on the location, no? If it's located near the eye area or the mouth area, where it affects your eating, or even in the nose wherein it affects breathing, then it would need a multidisciplinary kind of treatment. Like, for example, if it involves the eye, we also need to see an ophthalmologist because it will penetrate the eyeball. So there are different kinds of treatment also depending on the birthmark. If it's a plain cavernous hemangioma, we can do pulse dye laser treatments. If it's, for example, if it's like AV malformation or venous malformation, we can do sclerosing agents, and if it's too big, then we can also ask the help of surgeons.
Initially, for the parent of the child that they see with a mark on their face, is this something that needs immediate attention from a dermatologist?
Most of it are benign, but then there are a portion of it. It can be disfiguring, but also it involves other organs. So we need to check that up. It's not just a matter that if you have a hemangioma, you just leave it behind. That's why you need to see a dermatologist so that we can properly evaluate the condition and suggest proper treatment.
Now let's talk about moles naman, because there's what we call congenital nevi, which are mostly benign, but in rare cases, infants can also have a very large mole called a giant congenital melanocytic nevus. Now, Dr. Cree, what are the causes for these large moles? Are these random genetic mutations, or are they linked to some other medical condition possibly?
In most cases, nobody really knows. You're just born with it. However, these moles we cannot prevent moles. Moles are just supposed to develop when it develops. But what's important is to avoid it from becoming malignant. So there are means and ways to prevent that one.
Now, Dr. Claude, a lot of people are asking, ano ba yung purpose ng moles? How does this form? What is it? Why do some people have more moles than others?
Actually, pag mas marami kang moles, mas nakakatakot, saka mas mahirap i-monitor. Tapos, siguro kung ang purpose lang ang hanapin natin, it may be a beauty mark or a distinguishing detail on her skin or his skin.
Dr. Cree, when it comes to the area where the mole is situated at, are there some areas on the body that need more attention than others?
With moles, basically, we need to find out certain things. Like A is for asymmetry, like if there are irregular appearance of the two halves of the mole, then that should be a concern. B is for borders. So we need to see if the borders are all regular and rounded. If it's irregular, then it can be a sign of concern also. Next is C, which is color. So the existing mole, usually it's like a brown, black, it's homogeneous in color. When it starts to speckle or it creates an array of colors, then that is something of concern as well. The other thing is D for diameter. Usually moles are about 6 millimeter or 1/4 of an inch. If it goes more than that, then it's also an area of concern. And E is the evolution. So if you have new moles, like when you're over 30 and you get new moles, these are changing moles, then you also need to be of concern with that. Now, as for the location, if it's in the ear, the nose, and in the face, basically the concern is more of cosmetic. You don't want to disfigure or scar your face. So that is the best way why you should see a dermatologist. Another area of concern are areas where you cannot really monitor them, like the back, because you can't see them if it's changing color or if it's growing. Then that's another areas of concern. In the anal area, areas that you don't really see.
Now, skin marks usually aren't harmful or contagious, but in some cases, these skin pigments might mean something else. When we return, we'll discuss warts and other medical conditions linked to abnormal skin growth. This is MedTalk Health Talk. We'll be right back. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk, where caring is our calling. Warts are skin growths caused by the human papillomavirus, or HPV. Now, there are different warts and they can appear on different parts of the body, including our faces, our genitals, and they can even appear in clusters. How can one get HPV? What is the normal way for one to get HPV and eventually warts?
It's a viral infection. So like any kind of infection, whether fungal, bacterial, viral, it is contagious. And this is transmitted by skin contact. So from one person to another, the human papillomavirus, HPV virus, is transmitted by skin contact.
Now, Dr. Cree, why is it so difficult for warts to go away? Why do they keep on coming back?
They are hard to control because they spread. It's not highly spreadable, but it does spread. So mainly from direct contact, from surfaces, you can get it also. Another factor that affects it is our immune system. If your immune system is low, then you'd have a hard time fighting the wart. So there are a lot of factors that would affect the recurrence of the wart. The other thing is if you manipulate on the wart, you keep touching it, and then you're not able to really take it out, and then you touch other parts of the body, then you can have more implantation of the warts, and it can cause even recurrence of the wart and even making it more in numbers.
Pare-pareho ba ang warts, whether it be at the genital area, whether it be on the hand, on the face? Are these all the same?
Iba-iba yan. Ang HPV-1 is plantar wart. So there is also your genital warts, usually by HPV type 16 and 18. And there are a lot of types or strains of HPV that can cause different kinds of warts. But the most common that we have are the common warts that we have in the face, in the hands, in the arms, elbows.
Now, Dr. Claude, a lot of viewers may be aware or they may be heard of a vaccine against the human papillomavirus or HPV. Is this vaccine effective in preventing warts?
This vaccine is actually given for children as young as 9 years old up to age 26. So it takes care of 9 types of HPV virus that affects or produces genital warts and produces cancer.
Now, warts can be unpleasant to look at and aren't necessarily dangerous, but they could also be a means of your body trying to tell you something. In rare cases, these rough textured bumps are often linked with complications that could cause permanent damage to your immune system. So, Dr. Cree, you touched on how there is a link between warts and cancer. Could you talk more about this?
Certain kinds of warts will predispose you to have progression of your cancer. Okay, like for example, if you have human papillomavirus like in the genital area, okay, that can also cause like cervical cancer. It's molecular. There are links of certain proteins that develops into cancer. And if the immune system is not able to fight it, there's an overgrowth of those oncogenic factors and it causes cancer.
Are there also symptoms that our viewers should be wary about when it comes to a lesion similar to a wart that may need proper dermatological consult?
Usually harmless naman yan, no? Sometimes it just disappears in 2 years, no? Ang boil, mas acute siya. So yung wart viral, ang cause, yung boil, bacterial ang cause. Yung boil, it is an infection of your hair follicle, tapos it's nodular, and it becomes more toxic when it gets infected. Like there is redness, swelling, warmth on the area, and the patient also develops fever already. So this you have to address right away. Yung wart pwede mo iwanan pa eh. Tapos, the reason why you need to also see these boils, kasi sometimes hindi ito yung parang volcano erupting bigsa or boil lang, no? Sometimes it is quiet, walang pain, tapos it's growing very rapidly, no? Yung pala keratoacanthoma na. So yung keratoacanthoma, precancerous lesions yon.
Are there some practices that people should be wary of that can be at risk of contracting warts?
Yung mahilig magkutkot, so yung mga atopic patients, very prone sila sa warts. So yung children, kasi sila yung mahilig rin magkamot, hindi natin nasasaway, hindi natin nakikita parate, so mahilig sila mag-touch ng mga bagay or mag-touch din ng sarili nila, hawakan yung ito, tapos hahawakan yung muka. So yung children, mas common magka-warts, yung mga immunocompromised, yung mga may HIV o kaya yung mga treated for cancer or may diabetes, yan, yung mga weak ang immune system, mas prone din sila magka-warts.
When we come back, our guests will give you advice on how to take good care and manage our moles, warts, and birthmarks, and ways to prevent skin cancer. This is Med Talk Health Talk. We'll be right back. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is Med Talk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. Now, kids growing up with big moles, especially those that are raised, may scratch this or cause some form of mechanical trauma on these moles. Dr. Cree, is it possible for a mole to transform from benign to cancerous with repeated scratching kapag palagi itong dumudugo, nakakamot?
Yes, it's possible. Sometimes it may not even be irritated and it can transform into malignant melanoma. But signs that are suggestive of that would be bleeding, infection, like growth. Although sometimes when you manipulate on the wart and it starts to have bleeding and all, and then you have it checked, you can actually produce a false positive kind of melanoma. I mean, people would think that it's melanoma, but it's not really, because the only reason is that you picked on it, so it gives you a different clinical picture.
Dr. Cree, let's talk about how to prevent skin cancer. First of all, is the Filipino skin type prone to skin cancer?
Well, we are blessed with skin type 3 and 4. So basically, we have protection against cancer. So we don't get as much cancer as Caucasians or, that kind of skin type.
Mhm.
So we are lucky that we belong to that skin type, the darker skin type. But even if we are darker, we still can get melanoma. So of course, to prevent it, we're lucky because since we're darker, we seek shade when there's too much sunlight, which is a good practice that we are actually doing already. We use umbrellas to shade ourselves, which is good. We use caps, wide brim hats. Usually we already do that. So even without knowing, we are basically protecting ourselves from having melanoma or preventing such. We also like to apply broad spectrum sunblocks. And the only thing is, if you are doing outdoor activities, you have to reapply. It's advisable to reapply every 2 hours if you can.
Talking about birthmarks again, for those parents who are very concerned about significant sized birthmarks on their child when born or at their early age, Dr. Claude, what can you advise for them? Should they wait a little bit? It might be hard for some parents not to do anything at that moment.
Pag malaki siya, when I say big, talaga mga more than 20 centimeters, more than 40 centimeters, yung mga ganyan, minomonitor siya. Minomonitor siya ng mabuti to check for any changes. Sometimes we even request MRI and check for neurocutaneous, conditions or a syndrome.
When it comes to our skin, what type of preventive maintenance can you advise our viewers? Is there a time frame where they should just have their skin checked, even if they don't feel any symptoms?
So you can find a very good cleanser to wash your face and body once or twice a day. Moisturize, put a lot of emollients to make your skin barrier strong, and to protect using a sunscreen.
And Dr. Claude, for general skin health, is there a certain regimen that you could advise our viewers to follow? Because a lot of people take their skin for granted.
Take good care of your skin, no? Limit sun exposure, protect your skin from the sun by using sunscreens, wide brim hat, eyeglasses or sunglasses, and you cleanse with a mild cleanser, non-fragrance, and moisturize with emollients, a lot of emollients to make your skin barrier strong. Kasi ang nangyayari pag hindi tayo nagmo-moisturize, no, at hayaan lang natin yung pawis natin na moisturize sa balat natin, our skin gets macerated. It gets macerated, and more it gets weakened, no, without proper moisturizing. So pag weakened yan, mas malalaki yung pores niya, mas malalaki yung holes niyan. So hindi mo nako-contain yung sarili mong napoproduce na oil, tapos mas mabilis din nakakapasok yung mga environmental pollutants and allergens. Ayun. So mas mabilis din silang nakakapasok. So it's important talaga to take good care of your skin because your skin is the largest organ of your body and it mostly reflects your general health.
Thank you, dermatologists Dr. Claudine Ray Lagman Javier and Dr. Maria Cristina Puyat for being with us today and sharing your tips and expertise about how to manage and treat skin growths on our bodies. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and thank you very much for watching MedTalk Health Talk. We'll see you again next time.